Gumball 3000 is the biggest and most prestigious car rally in the world. It's only usually accessible to the rich and the famous, but last year Mark from Redditch did it with all his mates. So, one question everybody always asks me is how much did it actually cost? So we're going to talk about the entry cost and break down some of the crazy expenses. So first of all, let's talk about the car. Now we chose to do it in the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ.
Why that dinosaur?
That's a good question. Probably the biggest reason is it's very, very special to the channel and to me, because this was a dream of mine to have like the SVJ Ultimate Edition of the Aventador. It's big, it's spacious.
That's your definition of spacious.
Compared to everything else, yes. Like, if we did it in the Urus, say, it would have been amazing, but that's not what the Gumball's about. The Gumball is about some ridiculous, crazy, loud, obnoxious car, and that, after our modifications, is definitely that. So let me talk about what modifications we did. First of all, we had this LED light bar. That was about 250 quid. An eBay special plastic light thing which doesn't work, which was £100, and a siren. We could talk to the crowd. Basically, we could get in trouble with the police. Then it gets more expensive. Always wanted to put this roof box on since I saw John Olsen when he put it on his RS6. Now the downside is this was extremely expensive.
How much?
That roof box there, by the time we painted it, was £4,000.
For a roof box?
In theory now, it probably wasn't the best idea, but I got that deep into it that I couldn't go back. And then we had to make brackets and stuff. And actually, this was probably the biggest headache of the whole rally, because throughout the rally it kept on coming loose. Right, we have an issue. That roof box is smashing on the roof. I knew if this came off, it would potentially literally kill whoever was following us in the car behind. So that was a big stress. The biggest and best thing we did to this car was Ben at Deutsche Tech fitted this DTX system. And it is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, wherever we went, it stopped the crowd. It was amazing. And there was some amazing cars there, Ferraris, Bugatti, McLarens. But then when the SVJ came through, it stopped everybody because it sounded ridiculous. And then obviously we fitted a tow bar.
You've glossed over one thing.
What?
How much was that exhaust?
Oh. £700.
700?
It's £7,000.
And that Deutsche Tech exhaust is a lot cheaper than Gintani.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Now, Gintani exhaust, I think, is about 20 grand. And it sounds an amazing product, but I think the Deutsche Tech personally is as good, or if not better, and it's like a fraction of the price compared. But either way, both of them amazing. And I had to have one other thing of expenses, new tyres.
Go on.
So yeah, we did a few skids and it wrecked the tyre, so that was quite bad as well. They were £600 each, so did £1,200 in tyre. So
What about your tow bar?
Tow bar was fitted by Halfords. I think that was 300 quid.
One of the costs you may not have considered is the depreciation of the car. A high mileage supercar is worth much less than a low miles one.
So it's called the Gumball 3000, and the 3000 is obviously miles. So it did about 3,300 miles because we had to get up to Edinburgh the wrong way before we came back down again. Depreciation on a car like this, 8 grand maybe. Because it's gone from 9,000 miles to nearly 13,000 miles. So it would be a big difference when you come to sell the car. So I'd say it's probably 8 grand in depreciation. And obviously then we had to have a service, which I think was another £3,000.
When you add up all this so far, it's an obscene amount of money, but it's nothing to the actual entry cost to go on the Gumball Rally. You are going to be amazed how much you have to pay to actually be on that legendary start line.
So one thing which I didn't calculate in the expenses before we did the trip, which is a problem even now, is insurance. Now that was a massive, massive issue, but We'll get onto that in a bit. So hopefully if you watched it, you saw that it wasn't just me and Jay. Now obviously my friends Rich and Nick, they always dreamt of doing it as well. So when we had the opportunity, I agreed that we'd somehow get everybody involved. Now we did that by having a support van.
Am I not your friend?
You were part of it. Did that sound like I didn't include you there?
Yeah.
So that flap there and back was opened 20 times.
Nice.
We've got the tolls and then we've got the ferry on the way back. We actually managed to dodge that on the way because Nick is a blagger. Altogether,
Go on.
to take this there and back with tolls, £2,300.
And we lost a trailer tyre as well.
Oh yeah, there was a puncher as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
There's another £100. And then we've probably got another £100 in AdBlue. Now obviously the guys had to stop in hotels and that came to another £1,600. Now obviously they weren't always the best hotels and they weren't always the cheapest hotels. What what Nick had to find every single day was a hotel with a chance of parking this monstrosity without the trailer getting nicked. So yeah, that was a big expense as well.
And to make it worse, one of the nights the lads got a big fine. Bang, there goes another £200. So without yet including the very expensive special rally insurance and of course the entry fee, we are up to a staggering £30,000.
So obviously taking this and my friends was an extra expense compared to the normal gumballers, but we spoke to Shmi, who had an even bigger expense.
Good morning, how you doing?
Not bad, how are you?
All good, it's a bit hot, I'm not gonna lie.
Now, Shmi had a very expensive, crazy idea to take a different supercar for each day of the rally.
The way you took all those cars, how much extra do you
Yeah.
reckon that cost compared to everyone else?
So I did work out kind of the costs on top of doing the rally. Obviously for me, I've got to keep a little bit of a business mind, right? Because it's what I'm doing with my videos and things. And in total, the extra, so let's say support car, shipping, storage, I spent the thick end of £40,000,
40
which is
grand.
quite extraordinary. Yeah. The shipping alone, the shipping of the cars, I worked with Unique from the UK and they really looked after me, but still it's into 5 figures. Add on the premium for the insurance, right? Because it's not just one car all the way through and very complicated paperwork. Add on the storage, add on flying Tony from Turbo Transport, who hopped between each of these cities and I had to arrange all of his flights and get him from every stop to the next. Yeah, you're at quite a hefty sum to have done that, but it was a big ticket kind of way to do Gumball 3000, let's say.
And obviously, even with your content, you're never going to see anything like that back, are you? Sort of like
No. Gumball is, you know, we're very lucky as people who create content on YouTube, on other platforms, to be able to, in some form, monetize things that we enjoy doing and treat it like a business. That's ultimately what it is. But an event like Gumball is going to be very hard to ever generate that return. It's not, if you're brutally honest about it, it will be a bit of a loss leader.
Yeah, 100%. Me and Jane were talking about last night and we said there's a millionaire, then there's a multi-millionaire, and then there's billionaires. And I think the same as you. The people on there are amazing. Every single one of them, they've earned every penny and they've done really well for themselves and they're lovely people. But money is no longer a thing, and any any price in there is absolutely irrelevant.
If your car breaks down, can you get the private jet to take you to the next city?
100%. You're a legend. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
So, Smee's crazy idea for a different car each day was an extra £40,000. And that's not without even taking into account the prep, the running cost, the depreciation, and the car's service afterwards. But don't forget, that's times 6 cars. So before the Gumball 3000 rally entry fee, I guess Shmi is already about 60k deep. Now let's talk about fuel costs in that SVJ.
So before we go down to the house and talk about the entry fee and the insurance problem, let's talk about this. That happened 14 times, and that came to £1,500.
That's not that bad.
It's not that bad, to be fair. Like, it was 3,500 miles, near enough, to take a V12 natural aspirated flame throwing car across the most ridiculous terrain in the world. So yeah, it's not too bad. And you've got to think as well, every time we did get to a destination, We crawled and revved, which was like really, really bad for the car. And obviously that, wind resistance wise, was also slowing us down at the same time. So yeah, considering it wasn't too bad. Right.
We went down to the house to speak to the boss. Jane is the person who I shared this amazing experience with. It was actually our honeymoon. But let's talk about a few costs that we were not expecting. We had to buy food lots of times because by the time we got to the finish line, the food had finished. And also the pool party, we had to pay for a daybed. That all totaled up was another £1,500.
Right, a massive one, which is right on subject at the minute, insurance. Now, obviously I've got car insurance, and I definitely had car insurance then. So the rally kept on messaging saying, you've got to give proof of insurance to go on the rally. And obviously we've got insurance. But they said that we have to ask our insurance company to write a letter saying that they are aware we're going on the Gumball rally, which obviously was a massive issue. So I rang up my insurance company, said it, and they literally just went, no, you can't get insurance. So then we had to use Gumball's own insurance.
Yeah.
So we went third party fire and theft, which was £2,175. And then when we got to Edinburgh, we found out it was third party.
Not fire and theft.
So we had an exhaust on, which we were going to rev the nuts out of, which wasn't going to set on fire, but it's always, obviously, it's a risk because we're abusing the car. And theft. Now, bearing in mind we're going into countries and situations and car parks which we had no idea how secure they were. After a lot of deliberation on the day, to put that up to fully comp was an extra £6,000. So we were £8,000 deep in insurance for 6 days.
Let me know if you would have gambled with a third-party insurance. I was driving a £500,000 car around cars which were worth even more. And sometimes on rallies, things do go wrong. But £8,000 for 6 days just seems ridiculous.
Right, so now the big one, what everyone wants to know, which is something we always wanted to know. Now, to go on it, which you can't just go on it, you have to be invited, accepted, or whatever it is, because
It's limited to only 100 cars. So there's way more applicants than there are spaces. And for many of the drivers' teams, they don't really care about costs. They just want on that grid. The entry cost is next level. The price we had to pay to be on that start line in Edinburgh in 2023 was
£60,000, which is
It's
a
a lot of money, isn't
mad amount of money. But really, really interesting is you go to the best hotels, drive the best roads, but the logistics of that circus is unbelievable.
So the maths. If there are 100 cars, each paying £60,000 entry, that's £6 million in revenue. But when I spoke to the founder, Max, all these entry fees don't even cover the cost of what it takes to put on this rally.
Now, Max told me, Max Cooper, who is the founder and owner of Gumball, he said Regent Street, when they did that in London, cost him £3 million to shut down a street for a day. And they also made him put flags on each of the lampposts, which they charged him £500,000. £500,000 on flags. But that will give you an idea that how special.
So all those £60,000 doesn't even cover the cost to put the Gumball rally actually on. Max explained the only way to make it mathematically work as a business is because of the sponsors. So when we add it all up for our team to do this epic tour, it was £100,000. It is an incredible amount of money, but my dad left me money when he died, and I think this was the perfect way to spend it. This was making lifelong memories, but that, with also it being our honeymoon, driving epic roads and meeting some amazing people, it was the perfect week. It's been ticked off our bucket list, and due to the cost, I'm not sure I'll be in the position to do it again. But I'm so glad as a team we did it.
So the question is, obviously, knowing how expensive and crazily priced that is, if you had the money, would you spend it on going to the Gumball? Especially if it's on your bucket list. See you next Tuesday.
Maybe 6 p.m.